Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Aging and Spirituality Podcast. I'm Kathy Lee Taylor.
And I'm Chris Jensen.
And we're so happy to see you here for the last podcast of 2022. We were just talking about that before coming online. Holy moly, where did the year go?
Yeah, where did it go?
It's just flown by. It's so crazy. And I always feel like this week between like Christmas and the new year, it's almost like this invisible week, nobody can get to me and I can do whatever I want, and I end up doing a lot more meditation and going a lot deeper into, looking at what's happening for the new year and what I'm letting go of in 2022. And I just do a whole, it's like a little ritual that I go through at the end of the year to get ready and excited for 2023. So I don't know what you listeners are up to, but I think at the end of the cast, we're going to ask Chris to do a technique called Om Swaha, and she can tell you how to literally let go of what's happened in 2022 and why that's important to do, and how to set yourself up for an exciting 2023. So, yeah, let's not forget to do that, Chris. I'm just throwing that out there because I hadn't asked you before to do that. I just wanted to stick that in there before we got going. So today I wanted to talk about why it feels like it takes courage to live an authentic life. Couldn't think of a better subject to round the year out than really finding out the answer to who am I and what it is that I'm here to do in this world.
Let me ask you a question before you go any further.
Sure.
I hear there's a lot of things out about living an authentic life. What does that mean? What does an authentic life mean?
Well, that's a really good question. So when I say authentic, what I really mean is that a person is tapping into the divine reason that they're here, that they were born, that they're living according to that purpose. And everybody has a unique purpose. You're born for a very specific set of, what would you call it, instructions and lessons and, really life lessons that are put together for you to grow in a very specific way. I'm thinking about this in terms of, I'm apparently in this time that I've been thinking about what's going to happen in 2023. I'm looking at writing another book, and so I'm looking at stories in my past from like quite a long time ago, which I don't really remember. So I'm going to have to learn that way of writing a memoir, and remembering all this stuff and making it into a great story. But it reminds me of all the patterns in my life and the things that were set up for me to grow very specifically because of who I was and what I came in to the world to learn. And so when I'm talking about authentic life, that's what I'm referring to, being connected to the divine guidance and pursuing your own personal growth. Okay, so is that what you would call an authentic life?
That sounds good to me.
Okay. Okay, nothing to add in there.
No,
Okay, so really that's the premise for the conversation today. What I was going to say up front is that each of us is a very beautiful and unique expression of the divine. And if you've never thought about that for yourself, boy, that is a great way to start 2023. What is unique about me? And if, God were to sit beside me and say, this is the amazing parts about you, and these are the parts about you that you're going to be learning and growing from, what would those things be? And you'll be surprised that you'll get answers to those questions. So really being on the spiritual path, which is what we talk about all the time, is really consistently asking that question. Who am I? Who am I? That person that's watching my thoughts, that's living my life, that's growing in there. Who is that? And that is a constantly evolving answer, constantly evolving part of who you are, so you learn along the way. So I remember after I had an NDE, I wanted, people would ask me, what was the most important experience, the most important aspect of that particular experience. And for me, the answer is always the same. What I would want you to know about having crossed it over to the other side and coming back is, holy cow, I know this is the most important because I can't even say it without crying every darn time.
It's okay, crying.
Yeah. This it well, just taking the emotion of how this feels, because what is most important about that experience, and what I would want you to know, is how much God loves you. That's what I was immersed in. That's what I felt. That's what stays with me every minute of every day. My heart just, literally just have to say the words and go back to the experience, and boom, it's like right there, and literally it's set the course for my life in a way that's really all I want you to know. That's really all I want to work for, I want you to, if you're in my presence, I want you to feel that. I want you to, yearn for that, ask for that, have that experience, and know beyond a shadow of a doubt how much you are loved. So, taking a big deep breath here. For being forewarned that it can feel overwhelming, because 30 years later I still get overwhelmed by the whole experience, just the thought of it. So, talking about why it feels courageous to be authentic. Well, that was a great example. When you're being authentic, you're also being very vulnerable. You're not being afraid to be who you are. And most people spend a big portion of their life hiding that. Being afraid to say who they are, being afraid to be who they are. And that is a real shame. So
what do we do about that?
Take responsibility for your life. That's such a good question. This is one of the things that I wrote about in my first book, and that is you have to be 100% responsible for your life, the good and the bad. The good part's the easy part. Most of the time. The bad part is where the struggle comes in, because sometimes you're being asked to develop poor character traits. In my case, I've spoken about this before, being arrogant, being somebody that was just so busy taking care of my needs, the ego needs, I, me, mine, getting my share of the pie, making the money, building the business, doing all of that kind of stuff. Those things all had to be exposed, I guess is the right word, shown to me for what they were worth, which was not a lot. When it comes to spirit, they don't mean a lot. In hindsight, they were so important growing up because I came from an impoverished environment. So, my survival kicked in, and those were the things that are important to me. And with God's grace, I've learned what's much more important to me. And is these kinds of things that we're talking about. As we age, we really feel, I think, having spoken to people over in their 60s and stuff, that it becomes more urgent to really understand what the meaning of life is and what the meaning of their life is. So all those things that we struggled with when we were younger become a lot less dominant in our lives. So that's what's great about the spiritual path. When you get the time to work on your own growth in this, latter part of your life, that's a real blessing. And I think it's probably meant to be that way. We talk about in India, right? They spend their lives working, but they get to the third part of their life and they really focus on just their spiritual growth. And it's a great time to be doing that.
Because there's less distractions.
Well, there are less distractions, but mostly right up here in your brain. That's the less distractions, right? It's not pulling you in a gazillion different directions. If you've been, particularly if you've been meditating for a longer period of time, you don't have the mind pushing you all over the place. I always use the example of, it's like you're a boat floating in the water, right? And the wind comes up and it tosses you all over the place unless you put your oars in and steer your own path, literally. And that's what you do when you're meditating. You're learning to calm your mind at all times so you can focus on what it is that you want to put your attention on.
Yeah.
Instead of just being tossed around in the drama of what life often becomes. So, which is a nice segue into what we can do to keep moving forward on the spiritual path and making our lives much more delightful and what they call authentic. So one of the first things that I was going to mention is to avoid negativity at all costs. This is really a big one. And, people oftentimes think that that's a great idea. And, they'll tell you they're doing it. And then they'll turn around and tell you about the next drama that they heard on the news. They're not tracking in a way that they're realizing how much negativity is actually flowing through their life and their mouth most of the time. Like there actually was a study that was done by the Journal of Gerontology, actually in 2018. And what it said was that basically, if you have negative thoughts, you're going to have more stress in your life. Basically, that's basically, and I have the link to this particular study. I'll put it in the show notes so you can look at it. So really, if you're having negative thoughts, one of the most important things you can do is reframe it. When it comes up, turn it into a positive. Turn it into throw the weight on the other foot and turn it into a posive.
What do you want instead of what you don't want?
Exactly. Have you got a great example of that? One's not coming to my mind at the moment, but
well, I was thinking about there was one experience where someone was saying that they were against war, but they were asked, well, what are you for? And so the idea is to say, I'm for peace.
Right.
I'm for peace.
And so, and the point that Chris is making is where you spend your energy is what's important. Are you spending your energy resisting war? Or are you spending your energy being for peace? That makes a major distinction in your life, in what you manifest, how you live, the quality of your life, all of those things. Because your soul is a really positive thing, wants to be positive, wants to be in that vein all the time. So get up every day and start your day with gratitude. One of the best things you can possibly do. I know we've spoken about that before, but it can't be said enough, because you want good things to be floating through your mind. Be grateful. And that's how you start your day off, with good things floating through your mind. When you go back to, touch in and see what's going on in your mind, you want it to be joyful things, not, negative, irritating things. So one of the other things that I wanted to say about really encouraging the right kind of attitude is that look at how you feel about aging. What kind of attitude do you have about aging? There's another study that I saw in PubMed that said people that have a positive outlook about aging live 7.5 on average years longer than people who do not. Tells you everything you need to know, right?
Amazing. Yeah.
I'll put that link in the notes too. So really, it's all about
you just need to have the right attitude.
Yeah, Chris is a great example of this. It really is about your self-perception. It can influence your longevity. It's all about how you feel about the numbers. Chris always says, just numbers. Don't worry about it. Keep living your life, centered in spirit, and you don't have to worry about any of those things. So one of the things that's helpful about your identifying and looking at your attitudes is to do a mind drift practice before you go to sleep. Think about your day. Where did your mind spend most of its time? And then don't be upset if it's not what you want 100%, because we're all growing and learning all the time. Get up the next morning, start with gratitude, and keep adding your percentages until you find that you're pretty positive most of the day. It can happen like really quickly. Okay,
You'll
so
feel so much better. That's how it happens so quickly. Because once you start feeling better, you want to do it more and more.
yeah, that's exactly right. It's just the positive feedback. You want to just keep doing it. Well, and you learn, and this kind of segues us into the last thing that I was going to talk about. It shows you how being open and receptive makes you really a co-creator of your world, of what's going on in your day and what goes on in the life of everybody around you and in the world around you. That's how you make manifest most of the stuff that happens in your life. So, you don't want to be in a mindful resistance state, because having a closed mind really is one of the best ways to put obstacles up to being happy or being peaceful. It's just not going to work for you. You want to be open and receptive to the good stuff in life. And when I say the good stuff, that, what's innately there in spirit is joy and peace and kindness and all these wonderful energies that you can tune into anytime you choose to. So, okay. So let's see, what else did I want to say about being authentic? Just realize when you have challenges come up in your day, there are always opportunities. Always, always, always respond in a way that spirit would. And those opportunities will continue to grow and up level you to a higher place of feeling love and joy and peace, and it just keeps growing. So see them as opportunities. Christmas can be a hard time for people. I mean, I had someone close in my life lost someone. A young woman in her 50s passed from pneumonia in this last Christmas, and it was, pretty tough, right? Very, very like, why? What is going on? So, I spent a lot of time, thinking about and trying to help them understand that, there's always a reason, but see it from a spiritual point of view. Something's happening here. It was her time to go. Yeah, it's really, really painful. You don't, try to change that for the person. I'm not saying, that you try to take that pain away. There's a grieving process that you have to go through. But in hindsight, you start to understand that all of these things happen for a reason. And anyway, that's a personal story, but it's just meant to say that always looking at these things that happen in life as opportunities to reconnect to spirit, because you will get the answers that you need to deal with whatever is going on in your world. That's all. It's all part of being courageous and living authentically on the spiritual path. So let's just say, in summary, I put a few points down here. I want to say, just so you can take these with you, the end of 2022, use these as things that you can have to grow gracefully with courage. Be kind to yourself and mindful of using self-care on a daily basis. Let go of anything that you can't control. Have the right attitude and be present in every moment of the day. Carry with you a sense of purpose. Be open to doing something creative and new every day. Read a book, write a book, listen to a podcast, keep learning. Connect with nature. Always, that's one of the best ways. Spend time outdoors. It automatically resets your balance of body, mind, and spirit. Give back wherever you can. As a spiritual being, you're always looking to give back and help. Even if it's just a smile, somebody that needs a smile that you walk by and they need it more than anything. And if you're fortunate to have close love relationships in your life, like Chris has got a little schmunchy baby right now, you just love them as much as you possibly can, acknowledge how special they are and what an amazing time of life it is. So those are some beautiful things to think about with 2022 coming to a close. I'm so grateful to be in good health and looking at 2023 and all the things that, we can be doing, and what's going to happen. We're talking about what's going to happen with our podcast. We're going to be growing it in different directions. We hope you stay with us and come and listen. We're going to have some interesting people on for interviews. And so let's just have Chris describe to us what is the Om Swaha technique, which is a closing for 2022 and preparing for 2023.
Yeah, this is just a way of letting go of old things that you no longer want, old habits, old thoughts, old memories, the things that Kathy was talking about that keep us from being open to living this authentic and in more happy life. So you can do this physically or not. What we like to do in yoga is have a pot of some sort with a candle in it. So there's a little flame, but you can use a battery operated one. So you don't have to have a real flame and risk anything. But then we take rice would only because it's symbolic of being life-giving. And so you take the rice and you think about what it is you would like to let go of in your life. And then you go up to the flame and you throw it in and you say, Om Swaha. And that is invoking the transforming quality of higher consciousness. So, and you just, when you throw it in, you just literally try to let it go. And you're open then to what you want instead. And
wait a minute, what did you just say? You do what you want?
You're open to what you want instead.
Okay, so you're not thinking about what you want. You literally are letting, like, and this is great if you have a fireplace, folks. This is, you can make a whole ceremony out of it, be able to toss the rice into the fire and say, I let go of being angry. This would be a great one for me. I let go of being angry at my mother. I send you love from here on in. That's literally one of the ones that I've been working on myself, in all honesty, in the last few weeks. I am letting go of any anger that I had towards my mother, who's passed recently. And every time she comes up in my consciousness, I say, I'm sending you love from here on in. So that's a great example of letting go.
Yeah. And when you throw it in there, you want to really, you don't go Om Swaha, go Om Swaha. I mean, you just really want to let it go. Just put energy into letting it go and then just move on.
I love that.
Try to let it go. It's a great practice to do. It's very simple and it's fun. It's fun.
And it's fun. If you can get somebody to do it with you, it's kind of fun to do it in a group. I remember we used to do it in a big group,
Yeah.
And you could feel the energy just like leaving people, just being let go.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun to do in a group, but it's also just fine by yourself.
Yeah. I mean, it works as well. It's just, it's fun if you can get more people to do it.
Yeah.
And you can celebrate the new year coming in at the same time. So speaking of that, we will see you in the new year.
See you very soon.
It'll be 2023. Thank you for showing up. And I hope we see you in early January.
Yeah,
Take care.
we're looking forward to it. Bye-bye.
Bye.